Munster left it late, Leinster crushed the challenger, and Ulster rocked Ravenhill. It's a familiar weekend for some, which means we've loads to discuss. Let's start the show. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Intro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby from across the professional amateur, men's and women's game in Ireland. Three quarters of the panel are back this weekend, and gents, well, Ben, I'll start with yourself. Big weekend of sport. We say that so often. Big night of sport. Republic of Ireland against the might of Armenia. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
We were so close on Saturday in a weekend of not quite heartbreak, but a weekend of disappointment and stress. To come that close to beating Portugal, almost topped it off completely. I'm sure Connacht fans would have rather watched that than what they actually ended up watching. Um, I again apologize for anyone watching on YouTube if I keep looking this way, because we're currently playing and it's nil all and it's not going great. But hello, nice to see you both guys.
It's great to have you on.
Nice.
And Adam, I suppose, as our United Rugby Rewind correspondent, we may as well ask you about the URC action this weekend. I think it was a very familiar sense across the board. It wasn't just the provinces. Like Glasgow
Yeah.
won, Stormers won,
Yeah.
Sharks and Bulls both lost, yes, to Irish teams, but they came up north and decided prefer the Qatar Airways food than
Yeah.
being up here. So a lot of very familiar factors.
Yeah, they would rather watch the movies on the Qatar Airways flights. I'm sure I'm sure Ulster are gonna enjoy some rerun of a Christmas film that you never heard of or something like that. That's what my normal experiences on big flights like that are. It's like there's one Christmas film that you've never heard of. Mine was that Adam Sandler cartoon one. Um, but
There's an Adam
anyway,
Sandler character. I'm not even going to ask. I'm going
but
to let you go with that.
he plays most of the characters in it as well, in typical Adam Sandler
Yes, he
fashion. I
does.
recommend it to all. Anyway, but
I'm
yeah,
sorry I asked.
The URC was a bit of a weird one. I didn't particularly enjoy it as much as I did the first two opening rounds, but it's that classic the URC has to fix itself somewhere. And it's fixed itself this week. So it's like balance has been restored.
Yeah, well, it always comes back around full circle, doesn't it? And we will start up at the Affidea Stadium, as I should call it, not Ravenhill, where Ulster crushed last year's finalist Bulls 28-7, led by, and I've not been this man's biggest fan over the last 5 years, but a masterclass from Nathan Doak at nine. Adam, like, there's an Ireland squad to be announced tomorrow. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. We'll have two shows this week. But geez, if Nathan Doak didn't put up his hand, he put up both of them.
I'm so impressed by Nathan Doak. I think I messaged you going, he's Ginger Pinar. I don't want to shoot the gun, but he was absolutely incredible. I think this season with Nathan is the fact, and it's mad to say, but John Cooney being not being in the squad and also opening it up completely for him has, I think, taken for him that pressure off him. I wasn't exactly his biggest sort of not fan. I always thought he was a very good player, but I think there was more to it. I think at the start of the season, I was like, this is the season that Nathan needs to step on. This is the one that he needs to be in Ireland squad, needs to be pushing. And at the minute, he's doing that, and I feel like he's exceeding it. His ruck speed has improved so much. I think his all round general play is it's made everything look so much nicer, so much more slick. I don't know if it's Mark Sexton's influence on him that's already setting in. I feel like there's a Mark Sexton feel to the whole attack at the minute. If we have like an offload stat, I'm sure the offloads would be off the charts as well.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
there's a lot of offloads in there
yeah.
actually.
It just like we're Ulster rugby and we don't like rocks. Um, every single
Ulster
every
says
single person,
rocks.
yeah, Ulster says no to rocks. But yeah, I feel like this is such a like and our defense was superb. Willie Falloon is working wonders as well. I think he's sort of the forgotten one in the shuffle. I think it was just such a for an Ulster fan, Richie Murphy's finest hour, finest game, finest result in general. I think it was just really nice to see Ulster being not back yet. We've been here before, but playing in such a nice way, and Augustus as well. Pound for pound signing. One of those signings that we thought, do we need a back row? Oh, we needed one that runs into boys at 100 miles per hour and just absolutely never backs down from it. So yeah, it was a nice game. It was a lovely wee game that.
Yeah, well, if Nathan Drake didn't get man of the match, it would have been Toronto Augustus. Like he
Yeah,
was
of course.
phenomenal, and I think for me, I spent a lot of last year, and I don't want to sound like preaching or anything like that, but I spent a lot last year when that was announced, telling Ulster fans, no, no, this is making it up into the aggregate type of move. You can't get a big second row, so we get a big number eight to complement Timony, to
Yeah.
complement Izuchukwu, and we'll piece it together. And I think that's exactly what we saw from Augustus. Like
Oh yeah.
he is all energy, he is speed, he is power.
Yeah.
I actually think from an Irish perspective, you look at someone like a Brian Gleeson, that's who you want him to be in 5 years' time,
Yeah.
is Joanna Augustus. I think Augustus is meant to step up. I wouldn't be surprised if he's South African number eight soon, because
Oh
they
yeah.
seem to have a bit of a hole at number eight. A bit of an animal may
He's
disagree. I know they're big Evan Roos fans, or at least one of them is a big Evan Roos fan. But Ben, for Richie Murphy to get this win, probably his biggest win. I know they bet Leinster at home in his first season, but this had defeat written all over it. Like it really did. Like the Bulls had looked good in the first 2 weeks. Ulster had their week off, yeah, but like there's all that. And then it was Doak played well. And Henderson tackled everything. And
Henderson.
Izuchukwu
Yeah.
was excellent. And his injury, like I really feel for the lad because in my opinion, he's been the best, half lock, we'll say. Well, Tyke Byrne's technically a half lock. Apart from Tyke Byrne, he's been the best half lock in Irish rugby for the last 2 seasons, and
Yes.
everything clicked and everything worked and Stock did at 15 look good. And you just for a minute remind yourself this Ulster 15 is good enough to win 9 games. Yes, they're going to have depth issues when injuries come, but this Ulster 15, 17 players is very good and can win enough games.
Exactly. It felt like one of those, I don't like to think statement wins, the cliche, but how many teams in URC are going to be behind at half time, behind the 50-minute mark against the Bulls, home or away, and just fall away? Munster
Mm.
in that situation, unfortunately, don't win that game. I don't think Connacht win that game. Leinster might push it back. But for Ulster's big players stand up, and again, I've said this all season, my Nathan Doak stocks have never been higher. He is genuinely one of the best nines in this country. From the moment he stood in Thomond Park and said, was it stick the fields up your arse into the terrace when he got a conversion during
I've
COVID? He
I have
is
no recollection of this.
it was in the West Terrace. You wouldn't have ever been there. He nailed the touchline conversion and just turned, did the shush to the crowd and said, stick the fields up your arse. And it was just an excellent. He's just so good. Augustus, as you said, was fantastic. Isachuku, amazing. Sam Crean, scrummaging. I know he had a tough day out, but he genuinely looked excellent.
Yeah.
Um, there's, I know you've questioned Ulster's depth, but it's not bad. McKee isn't
No.
bad to come in. On Raffle, very good, and it comes in. Jake Flannery, if he gets a run, can very well do a job at 10. I'd like to see him at 12 if that was even an option from Ulster. Big, big win. They'll go down to South Africa. They'll fear absolutely no one. Like, why would you fear the Sharks? Why would you fear the Lions? If you can get full strength down there, Ulster in a really nice position, and they'll have Edinburgh probably during Six Nations realistically.
Yeah.
Again, a game they're
Yeah.
probably going
Well,
to
if
win.
it's not announced now, it won't be November. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and like for all the Richie Murphy criticisms that us and many other podcasts have had, he's built a lovely little team. They're playing really nice rugby, and that pack is going to bully everyone that comes in their way. Like they're in a position where they don't need Ian Henderson, as good as he was.
Yeah.
They have replacements for him. He can go to Irish camp. Isachuku getting injured, absolute balls. We all hope it's not that long out. But
Yeah.
you can't ask for much more from an Ulster POV. They've done everything you could ask from now.
Can you
No, that's it.
just
And like players who continually step up, and I'm thinking Nick Tim, Nate Stuart McCluskey here, were not necessarily the players we're talking about, which is important as well, because I think with Ulster and with Munster, you get into such a repetitive cycle of Casey slash Timoney, drag them over the line, etc., etc. What are you truly learning? This game, and Ben, you said it before we hit record, championship minutes.
Yeah.
Ulster like really kicked on. I know the first try wasn't, anything spectacular. The last try just up on
this one?
screen here for
This one.
anyone on YouTube. McCann does excellently. Izuchukwu runs it in. I know he gets hurt in the process then afterwards, which is really unfortunate, but it's just one of those results that you're happy with. And I know, like, I struggle to see how where Ulster get their win down in South Africa, just because it is so tricky. But at the same time, Adam, if they get one win and they come into, their first four games with three wins out of four, you're like, just it's not bad. Like this is the team that everyone was writing off. Like, especially here
Yeah.
at home. Nobody, and this is very important for anyone outside of Ireland because Global Gael is global. Um, Nobody's talking about Ulster. And fair enough, I may have been like a little bit critical after the Dragons game and said just watch the hype, it was the Dragons, and I stand by that. This is the game. This is the performance of the weekend. It's the reason why it's our game of the weekend.
Yeah, I think I'd rather us be under the wire for a bit, slowly chipping away wins without anyone speaking about us, to be honest. Because I feel like as an Ulster fan, we've never really been in the spotlight. Even I'm thinking I'm going way back to like 2012 when we got to the final. No one was really speaking about us. It was all just about, well, which, we did get thrashed by Leinster, but no one really spoke about, we did the job at Thomond, we did the job in the Aviva, and then, this is us. We're randomly here. I feel like this season it feels like that we just have that right amount of depth. We've worked within our wage. We've built probably the biggest team pound for pound I've ever seen. Our backline was massive. Or like in terms of like we've got James Hume says he slimmed down. He just looks way wider. He said he slimmed down in the interview, and I was like, "No, you haven't. He just looks
Yeah,
way,
but he
way
spent a
like
lot of
that."
time injured, Adam. Like he could have slimmed
Yeah,
down from the Christmas pounds, as I'm sure we are all
yeah.
accustomed to as non-professional athletes. Like we don't know. Like,
But he looks like a square. He's came back and he's finding his form that he's found. Probably COVID times was probably the height of James Hume. He's finding back that form. Stuart McCluskey, he's aging like a fine wine still. Like he still puts in those performances. You'd have that back three of Balakoon, Ward, and Stockdale. Mike Laurie. You need to add Mike Laurie back in there, and you think there's depth already. Stuart Murr, who hasn't played yet, there's more depth. That we've got loads of depth. It's just that we need playing minutes in everyone. I'd say the likes of Connor McKee and Jake Flannery is going to be key to our season because, to be honest with you, there hasn't been a backup 9 and 10 that we've had solidified for a while. There hasn't been one at all. So it's those guys, those guys that we're looking at to be the ones that step up to make those performances. And I have to
No,
say, sorry, Ben.
no, I was just gonna say, like, when you're looking at that Ulster, the starting 15 from last week, that 9 to 15 could compete with any single team in Europe when they're
Yeah,
firing, when they're going. And like, I
and
hope Jakey gets a couple minutes. He's excellent. McKee is going to be crucial, but he also shouldn't be, unfortunately, all that much damaged from an Irish setup. So, like, if
yeah,
Ulster can keep that
yeah,
9 to 15 rolling continuously, I know there's
yeah.
injuries will come here and there, but the plays you're making from 12, 13, 14, 15 with a 9, 10 that are controlling the game better than anyone else in this league, certainly from an
Yeah.
Irish POV, stunning.
Oh, I have to say, Jack Murphy he's a slick operator as well. Like, with how good Doak is getting, I'd say that Jack Murphy is also reaping that reward. He like we showed one of the tries there. The crossfield kick was spot on to McCann.
Mm.
And we have like Jack Murphy is only 21, 22 maybe. He's younger than me, which
Yeah.
is mad, but his stock as well is going to rise this season. And I think with the whole Big Ten debate, which we're going to get into tomorrow, you're going to have Jack Murphy there scheming. He's going to be scheming in some ways. If he has a big season this season as well, uh, the only way is up for people like him and Doak, and we're making such a nice wee 9 and 10 combo. It's lovely, which
Definitely.
we've struggled with before. We've struggled with that in the last couple of seasons. Yes, we've had John Cooney and Billy Burns, but it's one of those moments that we played more off John Cooney, whereas now I feel like we're much more comfortable playing off 10, playing off 9. Just depends on who we have outside, whether it be Postlewaite or McCluskey. It will work. On paper, it should work.
Yeah, no, and it should. And I think you'd be very happy with Ulster's prospects as of right now, heading into the rest of the season. This is one of their biggest home games all year. and they got a full 5 points. Take that for what it is. I do look at the next 2 weeks and I wonder how it's going to go. We'll see, especially if injuries start to kick in. If they lose a couple, they're almost guaranteed to lose someone to Ireland's squad unless they say, don't bother flying to Chicago. You'll reintegrate with the squad in time for Japan. That's a whole messy thing. I don't agree with the fact that the Ireland squad go into camp before round 5 of the URC. Personally, that's just my own opinion. Might get into that a little bit tomorrow.
Like you would hope, because it's the more winnable South African tour, that Ulster are given that breath to have go down
Possibly.
here full strength. You don't need to go to Chicago. Get like 2 weeks time, fine, but they have a good chance of beating the Lions. Sharks is a different ball game. We all know that. But you'd hope to God Murchie can make the point that look at how we're doing. Let me
Mm,
keep this squad and I'll release them all when we get back. You can have
yeah,
all 15 if you want when we get back. It's fine.
yeah,
No
yeah.
American's gonna know
Don't.
Tom O'Toole,
Ah,
even though he was
they might.
phenomenal.
Although
Yeah,
Tom
yeah,
O'Toole
but
maybe on the outskirts looking in for that squad, but I do want to move on. We'll kind of go in reverse order tonight in terms of the storylines. I think for all that was said about Connacht in round one and how good they were, and I think Connacht had the benefit of the old cliche, got better without playing. After round two, where people were like, "Oh, it's the Connacht in a great position." This was a little bit of a dull performance. They were not at their best at all. 14-8 loss at the hands of Cardiff. Ben, as our resident Cardiff supporter, by virtue of the fact you don't know one who's seen them live this year, I'll let you start off on this one. Like, this was a game that was 14-3 in the closing stages. Connacht got a late try to get the bonus point, which is good. 100%. That is very important.
Yeah.
But this is not the Connacht you want to see. Like, the whole point about Lancaster was you want to be a consistent team, not great one week, not great the next.
No, like for all, and I'm glad you brought it up because for all the credit we gave Lancaster in terms of preseason, in terms of game one, I know fine they didn't have game two and it fed onto this. This game is exactly the negative Stuart Lancaster. That if we don't get the ball, if we can't impose ourselves physically, it's kind of what we saw at Racing. They really struggle. Cardiff, as we saw against Munster, are a nasty old team when they get the ball. They're big, they're mean, they don't give it up easily. And if they get a sniff, they'll go wide. And Bowen is having a season of his life. He's
Yeah.
from anywhere between the 10 and the 22. He's running, he's scoring. Connacht looked, I don't like criticizing a province here, but they looked really poor. They looked devoid of ideas for a good 70 minutes of this game. I know. And when they got the ball, they did, and they got a lovely try to get the bonus point at the end of it. But Cardiff at times made a really awful game look easy. They kept the ball, they transitioned through it. They did not fancy with it, cool. But Cardiff had no answer for a little bit of power, a little bit, or Connacht had no answer for a little bit of power, a little bit of speed. It was everything that we worried, and I know we said it week one that Connacht traditionally have an excellent performance in Interpro and then would play a Cardiff or Scarlets and do this. They just looked out of ideas, and Lancaster, he'll turn it around, I've no doubt, but this can't be how you perform against a team who don't give you the ball, because URC teams won't give you the ball at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like you mentioned Tom Bowen there, that was his try up on screen. Really, really well taken. A little bit of an acrobatic finish, which, the outlads in the shed wouldn't be too happy with that.
I
But
loved it. I loved every bit of it.
no, it was a great score. So it's what you want to see. But like, I think just from a Connor perspective, you mentioned a very good point there. Lancaster ball is based on the kicking game. It is based on counter transition rugby, what we do when we get it back. I think it's important to remember that when he was at Leinster, they squeeze more penalties, more unforced errors out of teams than anyone else. Connacht probably won't be able to do that. So it's interesting to see what tweaks he makes. And I think going all energy on the defensive line, what we saw against Benetton was better. Didn't really see that as much this time around. Granted, Cardiff, you have to respect them a little bit more because they're so dangerous when they get to wit. But Adam, and I don't want to dwell on, oh geez, Connacht are not what we said they were too much either, because it is only their second game. But it's just that deflating sense of, oh yeah, we still have to put up with Connacht being a little bit inconsistent before the consistency finally hits.
I think this is going to be my hot take of the week. I think it's a little bit unfair because most of that game wasn't played. There was like 20 minutes of absolute nonsense with the TMO, and then the worst broken leg I've ever seen. And the fact that it was absolutely like, and they replayed it as well. I had Ulster on one side, Connacht Cardiff on the other, and I looked around and I saw it, and then they showed a replay of it. And I hope the Cardiff second row is okay, but his leg went like that,
Ah,
and
stop.
they,
Yeah,
and then
it was nasty.
and
It
then
was really
and then
bad.
what happened was at 20 minutes of not knowing what's happened, he was off the pitch, and then they had to go back into like passing drills, and then after that, then we had a TMO break because the TMO wasn't
The
available,
the
and
headpiece failed or something, wasn't it? The
yeah,
whole
the,
yeah, there was like 25 minutes that were
it was
just a S
yeah,
storm.
it was just a grey area, and I think for any professional player, and I think Cardiff also struggled with it as well, to be honest with you. But then Cardiff intercepted the ball in like the 74th minute when Connacht were sort of knocking at the door, and that sort of killed the game dead. But it was such a dud game. It on paper it should have been the game of the weekend, but the TMO being broken and the fact that we used to have a league where, sorry, there's fireworks behind me. There's the Cardiff fans, if you could hear that. But we had a situation, and I think it was the Pro 12 where Nigel Owen's TMO went, and I was reminded of this in the United Rugby Rewind, where he just had a phone and he just rang the TMO. Why
Down in
couldn't have that
Cork.
happened? Yeah, why couldn't have
Yeah.
that happened? Do you know, like that should happen in those situations, but no, we need to hear the TMO on the TV. We can't hear it in the stadiums, but we need to hear it on the TV. And yeah, I think it just sort of it really dampened it. At one point, bearing in mind that the games kicked off at the same time, Ulster were like 56 minutes ahead, whilst Connacht only played 43. They kicked off at the
Yep.
same time. It was so stop starting, and I've never seen so many what was it, passing drills in my life. And you would have thought that the hands would have been better, but the hands on both sides were dreadful. They were like, right lads, let's get into passing drills. Just everything was dropped, and it was just sort of like, ah, you
It was the
know,
only way to
well,
make the game interesting was do passing drills for 20 minutes and
no.
hope someone improved.
It
Oh, well,
basically, if you were in Cardiff Arms Park, you were into an open training session with none of the players signing anything at the end. That's what it looked like on the TV anyway.
and just to kind of round off the Connacht chat, Ben, like they played the Bulls, and I'm conscious want to do a little bit more preview talk this week because Interpros coming up, and we'll talk about that at the end of the show. They play the Bulls next, then Munster. Like they don't fear going to Thomond Park. They shouldn't fear any South African side coming to the Dexcom in Galway.
No.
But you're just wondering how much does Lancaster want to chop and change things? How much rotation? He is going to be without Bundyaki, Finlay Beale, and Mac Hansen at least for that trip to Thomond, and that makes that challenge even more difficult. I think they had something similar in 2022. Was it just after the November window, I think, when both sides played, and only not all the internationals were fully back. They'd only just come back in on like Tuesday, and it was very stodgy. What's the
Like,
aim now
but
for Connacht
that's
for the
the
next two
like
weeks?
we said Ulster, Ulster also missed their game and it's fine, but Connacht could have really done with that middle game. Like they rotated their pack
Mhm.
heavily for the Cardiff game to get lads minutes who I presume would have all played against Scarlets, and then you're fully tested going into Bulls, going into Roma, going into those two huge games that they have. For now, like they have to get guys more minutes next week. You probably leave out anyone in the Irish camp really. You're not going to have them for your two big games anyway. I
Yeah.
The Bulls could be very sticky. Bulls will be hurting after Ravenhill or Avadea, whatever it's called. Bulls will be
After
hurting
day, I believe.
after the Ulster game. They will have watched that kind of game, won't have an awful lot to fear there, especially if they keep the ball. Connacht can only be better. That's the only.
Yeah.
They cannot be as bad again. I know there's the half hour without any play, but go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Sorry, the thing about the Bulls is that their set piece absolutely crap themselves by the 50th minute, and I feel like that's where Connacht needs to capitalize. That's where Connacht needs to completely capitalize. I feel like it's a big opportunity for Connacht to get a win purely based on how the Bulls look like they didn't know each other by,
Yeah.
I would honestly say, the 10th minute. Nothing really worked for them. I was so surprised watching this Bulls team because they were like, oh, Andre Pollard's here, but on a cold, wet, windy night in Galway, he's going to crap himself. He will because he's famous for not really playing great club rugby.
If Connacht
So
can sort their set piece, it hurt them a little. In the few set pieces we have, what is Connacht starting front row didn't perform all that well against the Cardiff team. I know we're battle tested the week before. If they can sort that out, yeah, you can very much get the Bulls on a plane back to Loftus very quickly if you sort that out.
yep.
On the other side, the Bulls be coming down saying, if we pack up here and we can stop Connacht set piece dead, rain,
Yeah.
wind, Galway, fine. Put Pollard over here in a corner and we'll just truck and trailer for 80 minutes.
I think that's the fear because Connacht just don't have the size that the Bulls have when you look at the two sides. And yeah, sure you can talk about Pollard, and I agree he hasn't been the best club player, but he's still levels above, any
Yeah.
other 10 in Connacht, in probably in Ireland, if we're being entirely honest, in terms of when he plays for the box anyways, maybe not, for his club. But I do think it's really interesting to see how Connacht go, because we did say at the start of this whole thing, Connacht judged them after 6 games. They're 1 from 1 now. One of those games is gone, so it's going to be 5 when we hit the end of November and they get into Challenge Cup. There's a very good chance that they head into the November break 1-3. There's a very good chance they end up 3-1 as well. Don't get me wrong. It's a very good chance they end up 1-3, and then you're like, oh, and the air's out of the balloon. But we will get on to Leinster and Munster, who of course Connacht play in a few weeks a little bit later. But first, just a reminder to subscribe to get all the latest Global Game Line podcasts, including United Rugby Rewind, including A Bit of an Animal, the Women's Rugby Treehouse, etc., etc. And a big thank you to our now 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully, there is more to come as well. Massive um, a massive thank you has to be said to the Women's Rugby Treehouse for helping that during
Yes.
Rugby World Cup, of course. And if you can share this show with one friend or leave a comment, it makes a huge bit of difference. And maybe for the week that's in it, send it to someone who's going to Crow Park. How about that? If you know someone who's going to Crow Park the weekend, send it to them.
Uh,
And there, we'll see how it goes.
how many tickets have been sold? How big is the scope
I'm
are we
not getting
talking
into
here?
seat watch. I'm not trying
I,
to do that.
I was actually going to say, please keep the comments coming because like we do look at them. We respond to an awful lot of them. Myself
Yeah,
and
too
Adam's been
many.
responding to a few. So if you quite on send me recently,
I, I got a nice answer comment the other day.
Yeah,
yeah, like
that's rare
if you're
from
confident
you.
giving out to us, it's fine. Give out to us. We don't mind. We represent 4 provinces and we're used to a bit of slagging. So come on, give us your
Yeah,
worst, please.
we're all big men, maybe not physically, but
Maybe not your worst.
to get a little AIL chat as we always do on the halfway stage of these shows. There was no women's action. That is back next week. But in 1A of the men's league, St. Mary's remain top after a 34-17 win over Belvo at Templeville Road, while Ulster Academy winger Ethan Graham scored 6 tries for Ballynahinch as they crush UCD. Insert Tommy Bow meme here. Insane. 6 tries. I don't know how he did it. In Division 1B, Old Wesley moved top. And there it is from Adam, the Tommy Bow meme. Old Wesley moved top as they edged past UCC at Energy Park, while Instonians were finally beaten. This time by Gary Owen. Huge result for them. Might talk about that with yourself, Ben. 2AC's Barnhall and Dungannon remain top of that division, while Galwegians moved clear of Sligo, UL Bows and Malone. All 4 sides all unbeaten in Division 2B, but the former are 15 for 15, while in 2C, Thomond recorded another dry bonus point win. Excuse me. This time over Munster rivals Dolphin to remain top. And Ben, I think, yes, Ethan Graham, 6 tries, unbelievable. We could get into that for hours, but none of us seen the game. We'll take the word that he's unbelievable performance, John Loma levels. But Instonians against Gary Owen is probably the one closest to your own particular heart, because it's only over the road from you. Big result for Gary Owen. I know they had a lot of academy players, the likes of like Haddon, Klein, Fox, guys like that, all involved. Tom Wood was on the bench, etc. Huge win because Instonians have looked like a machine who won't be stopped for large passages of the last like
It
five
was an
years.
excellent result for Gary Owen. I don't think anyone really saw it coming except for people within Gary Owen themselves. Um, they were saying midweek they were going up targeting a win. They were confident they'd be able to get one. They genuinely were excellent. Can I also say I know we're not talking about all that much about Inch, but it made me feel a lot better about the Cookies result from 2 weeks ago. Seeing them running 6 tries on Saturday. Gary Owen are an interesting one because they've got a lot of Munster Academy lads out there. They've gone under the radar an awful lot this season. I think that under the radar is going to stop now. They have a week off. Week off probably won't do them any real good. But also, they've laid down a marker now for anyone else to come and say, right, you want to come down to Doyle, down you come, see what you can do. Um, Also,
It's
big
a
weekend this weekend in women's AIL. Just Bose Belvo stands out hugely.
yeah, massively.
For what is, I know we didn't mention women as of yet, but just again, the men's is off, so it gives the women a chance to properly stand out this weekend.
Yeah, and it's important noting that the men's are off this weekend, but there is a interprovincial championships taking
Yes.
place. Leinster take on Munster in Old Belvedere. Firstly, 12 o'clock on Saturday. I think you'll see a lot of those Gary Owen players, the UCC players, etc., involved in that one. Be interested to see what Leinster do as well, because they'll probably have some guys who've played the last 2 to 3 games involved for
You
them.
presume a lot of Turf lads as well will be involved with that
Yeah,
Leinster squad.
absolutely. Maybe even a
Um,
Mary's player or two. Wisniewski potentially
just a
has been doing
couple.
really well. Up at Turn Europe, potentially himself and Casper Gabriel both line out there. But
Yeah.
we'll get onto all that maybe next week if we get a chance because we'll only have 3 games. But to Lansdowne Road next, where Leinster bounced back and hammered the Sharks to make them look, well, like a much smaller fish. I think it's fair to say. Adam, I'll start with yourself. Like we expected Leinster to win this game. We all said Leinster would win. I think we all would have said Leinster with a bonus point. The Sharks just continually flatter to deceive, but Leinster off the board. It is their first win. They deserve plaudits. Absolutely none that should be taken away from them.
Yeah, I think Leinster played a very good game. I think they could only play what was in front of them. There was not much in front of them, to be perfectly honest. There was all the tries were really well timed. I think on the weekend I pointed out the Van der Fleer try was a very well, really incredibly well timed run by him. However, the prop did that. He did that, and he sort of fell, and it was one of those that I was like, oh, Van der Fleer had a really good game. They had three Lions back. They had Furlong, Van der Fleer, and Lowe, and it was one of those that any team would really welcome Van der Fleer. This is what I mean. Van der Fleer had a really sort of positive game. I thought Gunn had a pretty decent game as well. But as we say, this Sharks team was very like deceptively weak. They had a couple of their Springboks back, like this try right here. Um, any other, I'd argue it was a very well timed kick by James Lowe, but any other team I would say would have that covered by a fullback. Um, but yeah, plaudits to Leinster. I think everyone was expecting this. Everyone was expecting. Oh yes, Lion Jamie Osborne. Forgot about that. Um, it's gonna be a lot of me going. Oh yeah, Thomas Clarkson, Gus McCarthy. Was he a lion? Anyway, but
Used to pick
yeah,
out the non-Lions.
yeah, pick out the long lines. Was no anyway, but yeah, it was one of those that this was the try, very well timed, very easy to spot the gap, but that was such a weak defensive setup from the Sharks. Um, but yeah, it was a very good game. I thought Harry Byrne played quite well. Is all the hype around a 10 that's played against a weak team plaudits? I'm not sure. Um, are we going to be talking about tens for the rest of November? Probably. So I'm going to keep the 10 chat to a minimum and talk about how well Josh Van der Fleer played. There we go.
Yeah, well, you can never have too much praise for what is literally the smiliest man in all of Ireland in Josh van der
Yeah.
Fleer. And credit to him, he was excellent. Harry Byrne got man of the match, Fintan Gunn getting a lot of praise, as he said. I would not be surprised if both of those lads are in the Ireland squad tomorrow. I would equally not be surprised if neither of them are. It's just that kind of like, yeah, you could see them squeeze in on the whole like hashtag cohesion thing, but at the same time, has it just been just one game? And we'll wait and see. I think that's the big thing with Leinster. This is just one game, but they're still going to win about 14 more games that look like this season, aren't they? Like when you include Europe as well. We've seen it time and time again. They'll steamroll most teams in Europe. Like they've got Quins at home, for example, in the Aviva. Will they put 50 on them again? Probably. Probably will.
Probably.
Do you know they'll probably hammer whatever South African team comes north. I think it's going to be they'll definitely hammer the Lions. If they have a full strength team, they'll dispatch. I do believe they'll dispatch a Munster next week. I think the bookies have it about 15. I think it'll be a little bit less personally, but I think they'll dispatch them. And that's the thing. But like this particular game, with this particular team, very rarely see. So it's a testament to them that they looked as slick as they did. And Ben, like I don't want to do too much Ireland chat. Maybe if we have a little bit of time at the end, we'll do a small bit of it with you because you won't be on tomorrow. But this is just, yeah, this is the Leinster we know. Smooth, efficient, job done. On to next week.
It was cohesive Leinster. It was exactly what they needed to do at home in the Aviva against a Sharks team who on paper are very good, but as we've seen time and time and time again, the Sharks on paper are not the Sharks we see. They're more like Dolphins when they start actually playing. We mentioned
Miami
Van der
Dolphins
Fleer.
would also be fitting in this particular
Miami
instance.
Dolphins would also be very fitting, exactly.
The
We
Hollywood
we
bet
mentioned Van
Miami
der Fleer. I
Dolphins.
would just like to say Soraka, and he was at 6. He was unlucky not to get that try. Was it the first 10 minutes when he made a breakthrough and finished it, but it was pulled back. Um, Also, nice Munster-born man, just to point out for anyone. Soraka
Is
is
he?
excellent, but he's out. Born in Cork. Yeah.
Oh, learn something new every day.
Clontarf, Belvo, Leinster, like bleeds blue at this point, but the best of them usually do come from down here. Just to if here and Wicklow in South Africa, two of them are where their best back row players come from. Just to point that out. No,
Wait,
look, Leinster are very good. You can't. We're not going to have tin chat, but Byrne was very, very good. As much as I don't like to say it, he was genuinely excellent. James Lowe, very good. Fintan Gunn, you might miss out, but can't ask for any more from a player, especially a player up against Hendrickse. And up against as experienced a 9 as he was, really looked way above his age.
Yeah.
No,
That's one of the
Len,
issues for the Sharks. Their halfbacks can be the Gattuso meme of sometimes maybe good, sometimes, they don't look their age a lot of the time in the
no,
derogatory sense. They can play with such a flakiness. And that might be something we get onto with Munster in a minute as well. But like take the win, take the 5 points. It's on
that's
to Crow Park next up. And I do think Leinster will win that game. And then you're into and I'm literally hopping on the fly here to try and see what their next two games after that is. I have a fair idea. Come on,
look,
laptop. This
while
this
you've
is the
that
joys
loading.
of
So
it.
most
Go on,
importantly
Ben.
for Leinster, it has for the majority of people gotten off the cobwebs of what was a pretty poor South African tour. They've done exactly what they
Yeah.
needed to do. Unfortunately, from Munster POV, they've got the cobwebs off right at the correct moment for Leinster. Um, it's a performance you can build. I don't think Cullen will be looking at saying we're back or anything like that. I'm not sure who you have after Munster. I'm sure you'll have it in a moment.
It's
But it's
Zebra
something you
at
can build.
home, Dragons away either side of November.
Yeah, so look, that's even Leinster's fourth string team. That's probably 2 bonus points wins. Unfortunately, I love Zebra, but that's 2 bonus point wins you would expect.
And
Um,
this is the thing as well, because like we will get into this in mid season with Leinster that you're like, oh look, they're great, but you can't call them to account. I think the biggest disservice that gets done to Leinster in the media in Ireland is you kind of get this sense of, geez, weren't they excellent? Weren't they excellent? It's like, yeah, they were very, very good. But ultimately, like Toulouse, you can only really judge them at the end of the season. It's not like Connacht, it's not like Ulster, not like Leinster. And I look at Leinster's next few games, and I'm going to spit these all out at you. Zebra at home, they'll win. Dragons away, they'll win. Harlequins at home, they'll win. Leicester away, I think it'll be tough, but I think they'll win. Ulster at home, they'll win. Munster away is probably their next tricky game. If Munster have everyone fit, they haven't had that at Christmas for a long, long time. Connacht at home, they'll win. La Rochelle at home, based on La Rochelle at the moment, they'll win. Bayonne away is tricky, but I still think they'll win. Bayonne could be out of Europe at that stage, round four. Connacht away, banana skin. It's between six nations in Europe. Edinburgh at home, they'll win. Cardiff at home, they'll win. Glasgow away, and that brings you up to that's the weekend after the Six Nations. So like you are in that stance where you're like, bar interpros, it's Glasgow is the next team who are probably going to take points off Leinster. Could
and
be
that's the
wrong.
exact point we made in our preview, is that we said this to David, where are you going to drop points? After
Yeah,
South Africa, which is going to be tricky, where are you next going to lose? I think we said Ulster, Ravenhill, Glasgow, maybe European semi-final.
yeah, and I stand by it. 100% stand by it. Like I don't think I was on that show actually. Now that I think of it, but I
No, you
stand
were
like
traitoring.
I was traitoring that day.
Yeah.
I was a traitor to yourselves. Hey, that's so bad. Um, but I'd like that's the thing, and I think the next few weeks of Leinster talk, if you do feel like we disrespect them, it's really just that. It's just they will just steamroll this part of the season like they always do, and if they don't, we'll raise the red flags. But I don't think it'll be an issue. But
No, we'll
speaking of
disrespect Leinster tomorrow. Tomorrow's when we disrespect Leinster.
Well, you won't
Um,
be on. It'll be David because per rules of Irish rugby quotas, we have to have a Leinster man to talk about the Ireland squad.
Yeah.
Insert joke here. That is a joke. Please, that is a joke. You two comments.
It's even
see the comments.
Comments,
yeah,
yes.
it's even the point that my mum's from Dublin, so I'm technically half Leinster. But if we're going on that, my granddad's English, so it's really confusing. I've got a
So
really
you are our
confusing.
Autumn Nation series expert,
I
essentially.
am the Autumn Nation Series expert, which is
Good.
yeah,
Big
yeah.
fan of a pint of quilter, I can assume.
My
But
isn't that like
it's not a
Quick
fight.
quilter?
It's
and
not a
refreshing
fight. It's
pint of
investment.
insurance.
It's insurance or something. But we'll move
Yes.
on to Cork and we'll move off swiftly. Hello to Ben's Doggeroo for anyone on YouTube who's very excited, as we all are. Munster left today to topple Edinburgh 2019. But for Edinburgh, it was poor discipline that decided this outcome. Ben, I know you were off watching the game of association football as opposed to rugby football on Friday night. But there's two ways to look at this. Munster weren't great, and they had to dog it out and had to be very Munstery. Like Edinburgh were Munstered, but at the same time, a win is a win. We said if Munster got 3 wins in their first three, they'd be very happy. They have that. So, bit of both.
And that's exactly it. If you had told me when we did all our previews, we'd be going into Croke Park 3 wins out of three, undefeated and playing okay rugby, I'd have bit your hand off for it. Um, was Friday night great? No, it wasn't. But again, it was a win. We fronted up. Michael Milne was excellent. Edinburgh, unfortunately, I think beat themselves in times of that game. They're indisciplined, as it always seems to be when they play Munster. Kind of went off a cliff. Now they weren't lifting posts this time to try and stop us scoring.
Not,
That was
not,
a
not that you hold a grudge or anything against
not
Marius
that I hold
Maitreya,
a
who I think was
grudge.
referee that
Not
night.
that not that I hold a grudge for wet and windy nights in Cork or anything like that. No, no, no. Every game should be in Limerick. But no, look, we were we were good. We did exactly what we needed to do. Patterson looked good at 9. If we assume he's going to start the weekend, it was a nice rolling in for him when he did come in, and we started. Patterson looked very good. JJ was fine. JJ, he did what we expect JJ to do. He'll be disappointed with his game off the tee. Again, controlled the game relatively well. I I would like to have more criticism of it. I don't think we can read a lot into a game where we scored majority of our points when the opposition down to 14 and 13. Kept them out for large periods of the game. Yes, we were sloppy. Yes, we need to be better on Saturday. But again, this is the fourth choice game of the week for a reason. It wasn't great. It's a win. We take it. We move on.
Yeah, no, and that's it. Like, and I was trying to get clips here, but TG Carr, I have a load of clips on. I can't keep scrolling.
There isn't
But
there isn't many clips of positive from that game. It's fine.
yeah, no, there isn't. But there was a couple of good scores, and it just kind of like you mentioned players who came on. We have to mention Edward Adogbo and his
How could I
return,
forget a dog
and
boy? I spent the
how
whole
how incredible he was. Brian Gleeson as well made an impact off the bench. Tony Butler had that crucial sidestep. Tom Farrell was a man reborn in the second half, and I think what impressed me from Munster was we're so used to talking about Tom Farrell winning them games. Seen that loads of times. Ravenhill last year being the prime example. He was unstoppable. Adam will remember that one. But Adogba won them this game. Butler won them this game. Do you know Calvin Nash in the second half when Finney Wycherley kept going? Brian Gleeson, that huge carry. That's what Leighton McMillan is asking for. When he's on about
there's
raising
a boat
raising their
carry.
floor, that's what he's on
There's
about.
there's one boat carry which you might be able to find a clip of where it takes 3 Edinburgh players to even get him to stop his momentum, let alone get him to the ground.
Mm.
He's the kind of player we have been calling out for. We know the players there. We know what the Dogboat is. We know what kind of player he is. We've been calling to get him fit for how many months now? If that's what he does just back in a cameo, let's see what he can do if he starts for an hour on Saturday. Let's see what he can do against less big opposition.
Very, very soon for that though, surely.
I I know he looked ready. He looked very ready. And the comments we had from Leamy yesterday kind of indicate we're looking to bring him in. Now, whether they are or not, I'm not sure. I would love if they do. I don't want to risk him in a game that usually gets down to niggle and there's a couple of injuries out of either. But a dogbo carrying into that Leinster pack, I need it. I need it so
Yeah.
much.
I mean, I completely understand that. I'm a huge Edmund Dogbo fan, and I'm trying to get this clip here. But
And he played in a plastic pitch, which I didn't think they'd let him do.
yeah, no, he
So you
did.
know what?
He
Grass
did.
and Crow
Yeah.
Park, happy days.
No, that's important as well. It should be said, but like it's great to have him back. I don't see him playing this weekend. I don't see him playing starting this weekend. I think it'll be Byrne and Ahern or Byrne and Klein with Ahern at six, something like that. Probably
I have
Klein
Burn at
plus
six in
one,
my head, but yes, I see that
Byrne at
also.
six potentially or Ahern. That probably shores up line out a little bit. Now, in fairness, they kind of dragged it. They kind of pulled out their arse a little bit with the line out in the second half. They just got the job done with that one. But I do see a role for Dogbo on the bench. And you look at the next two games, Leinster, Connacht, like good chance to just stake your claim, just put your hand up. I would be in favour of him playing the Ireland A game again, maybe on the bench, just to get minutes into him, kind of feed him through, because he is that like talent. You talk about that carry, it's Freddie Douglas, it's Paddy Harrison, I believe, the replacement hooker, if not Ewan Ashman, and it's another forward. I think could have been Sykes potentially, like big men. And he's just swatting. It takes three men to bring him down. The Coombs try. I'm convinced if that was me picking and going with Edward and Dogbo behind me, I'm burrowing over. Like the power of the two of them. I think he nearly pushed him into the centre of excellence behind the goal. Although now
You'd
that
have
I
seen
think
him
of it,
over in Turner's
I
Cross
think
playing
that was the
football
other
next
side.
week.
I think that was the other side of the pitch, the centre of excellence. Now that I think of it, but a win is a win is a win. Munster be happy with that. Clayton McMillan will deal with the negatives. But as we've seen before, Mike Prendergast's attack often clicks into gear after the November window. So I think if they can get out of here with 4 wins from 5 and maybe a point out of Croke Park, maybe 2 points out of Croke Park, maybe a win out of Croke Park, they're in dreamland.
The
But I
most
think if they can
important
get out of
thing,
here,
we're going into Croker not desolate. We're not going
yeah,
in looking down the table to try and find Munster. We've won 3 games. We're now, John Klein's going to give out to me for saying this, but we're now in bonus territory
yeah,
and
John
get
Glen's going to kill you for
anything
that one.
out of Saturday. And again, Saturday, I know we're going to do a little bit of a preview. Saturday is what it is. It's a game. Leinster arguably need to win it more than Munster do, which is incredible to say at any point in the season. Get out of there with a point, get out of there 2 points. Focus on Connacht. Um, I
Let the
can
Ireland lads go off, focus
let
on
the Ireland lads
Connacht.
go away. We won't have all that many. Focus on tomorrow. Focus
And
on
we'll,
Saturday. Focus on Connacht. Go
we'll
from there.
touch on that really quickly. But this weekend, it is Friday night lights for Connacht at home to the Bulls, which means both sides only have a 6-day turnaround. That's 7:45. That's on TG4, Premier Sports, URC TV. Saturday, 3 p.m. Ulster down in Durban to play the Hollywood Bet Sharks, 3 p.m. Premier Sports, URC TV. And Leinster Munster at 5:15 that evening in Croke Park on TG4, Premier Sports, and URC TV as well. Um, in a word, Adam, Connacht and Ulster against South African opposition. 1 win, 2 wins, no wins. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking one, but I'm not sure which one yet.
Similar to last week, so it's like one of Ulster
Yeah,
Connacht will win, just not sure which one yet. I
yeah,
think that's fair.
yeah.
Ben, I know we don't have David on to defend himself here. And I'm liable that you could get us done for libel with what you might say. But Leinster, Munster, Croke Park, there's loads of question marks of like attendance and the novelty and the rivalry and Get that every year. I don't really. It's not my thing. I don't buy into those kind of talk. It's filler. But as you said, Leinster need a win. Munster maybe less so, and that kind of adds an interesting dynamic to it in its own way. Because even the fact that like Munster come into this and Jack Crowley's the form 10 again. Craig Casey is the form 9. I know Gibson Park hasn't played. Michael Millen is on great form, and so on and so forth. And Gavin Coombs playing well, and Dan Kelly looks unbelievable so far. There is a confidence in going into a big game knowing you've played well and knowing you've gotten the results, even if it's not perfect. There's a confidence just knowing you got over the line. And I think a good example of that is Munster going to Castlebar last year, grinding out, getting a win, then going to La Rochelle and telling themselves, look, we know we can do it. Like there's always some. I don't believe Munster will win this game, but there is always something to be said in an interpro of just that kind of shackles off. Let's see.
It's Munster Leinster. It is the game of Irish rugby. It's the game that you can't really write about early. The script's been flipped this year. Munster are going into the game not actually needing to do anything. That being said, I think we can. Do I think we will? Probably not. If I'm going heart over head though, we can go up and we can give Leinster a mighty shake in Croke Park. The Munster
Well,
front row can deal with Andrew Porter. Just keep pointing it. Do what Peter did and point at elbow. Elbow. Look at the elbow.
yeah,
Look at it.
that wasn't for the referees. That was to help the lad he was scrummaging behind.
Yeah.
That should be pointed out as
And
well.
now you get Tyke Byrne to say, look, elbow, look.
Well,
For
that's based on you thinking you play six. That's important to note as well.
yes. Not if he plays lock, he isn't pointing at his elbow, then it's a collapse. We're not doing that. Um, but no, I'm unfortunately not traveling up this weekend. It's the first one I've missed in many, many years. Fortunately, other circumstances have gone against me. It's not because tickets are too expensive, because the Munster faithful have lost their will and blah 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 blah.
I'm gonna cut
Um,
you off there. You think Leinster win, but your heart says Munster, and your heart says Munster to give them a rattle. I just had to cut you off before we
no,
get done for something.
Munster, yeah, Munster by a score.
Okay, interesting. You're gonna have to back that up in the weekly predictions, which is going to be my next comment, because we are all tied up at 9-1 through 3 rounds, which I don't know how it's happened. Because I genuinely don't know how I'm 9-1, first of all, after losing the first game of the season. Does that mean I have the tiebreaker? Because I've won the last. I don't know. I don't know how this works. I'm
No,
in charge.
you're the
My
host.
room.
You don't get the tiebreaker. And also,
That's true.
your first round predictions were all wrong. You changed them post recording. Lee gave us lovely predictions for you.
That's not
Yeah,
true.
Lee said 2 point Newport win in a
Yeah,
really weird Kingston Cork accent.
I've literally never said that the Newport Red Dragons would win any game, so I
You
don't think
can't
that's
say,
true.
you can't say Newport anymore.
Adam,
yeah,
you'll be with us.
exactly. You didn't say the Newport Gwent Dragons would win. You said the Dragons would win, which
You
is a
said the
much more
Dragons would
accurate
win.
description.
Oh
Yeah,
Lord above.
and
I should have
yeah.
muted your mics there because I need to move on. Just really quickly, lads. Um, Adam, in one word, who's going to win on Saturday? Munster or Leinster?
The fans. No.
Rugby is the real winner.
Rugby, the referee.
Gianluca Galecki, great head of hair. Great head of hair, that guy.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Pretty hair derby.
Casper's gonna score a drop goal. Munster win. Anyway.
Anyways, because you're with us
Uh,
tomorrow, Adam, the Ireland chat. I'm taking that as you saying Munster are going to win. You can change it prediction.
I did say Leinster were going to win on the weekend, so I'm going to
That's
keep
fine.
it to Leinster winning. I'm going to keep it to Leinster
That's
winning.
fine.
I just, sorry, Ben. Sorry. I sort of.
You're with us
brain.
tomorrow night, so I don't want to get into too much Ireland chat with you. Ben isn't. Ben, we're expecting an Ireland. Sorry, we know there's an Ireland squad coming tomorrow. We're expecting Caelan Doris, Joe McCarthy to come back in, even though they haven't a lot of. They won't have any minutes. Sorry, never mind a lot. They won't have any minutes before they head to Chicago. There is a sense. Okay, enough Father Ted memes there, Alan. There is a sense amongst people that this is a great opportunity for Ireland to kick on because Six Nations was poor, it was stilted, it was a hammering at the hands of France and scraping past the worst Welsh team since, I don't know, since Cromwell was around. It wasn't a great Six Nations.
No.
But Chicago took on a life of its own 9 years ago now. Hard to believe. It's actually 9 years ago this week that Anthony Foley passed away, which is also hard to believe. That's 9 years. That took on a life of its own. Ireland know how to deal with South Africa. Like, it's an interesting one. We get onto it all in time, but do you want to see just that not rotation, that evolution of this Ireland squad now? Like, is now the time, or is it? Oh, look, let's focus on ranking and seeds and all that.
No. Ireland don't need ranking and seeds. Ireland will be fine. We will do well in the World Cup. We're not. The lowest we can fall is 7, and that is if the sky collapses around us. That's not going to happen.
That could happen.
We need to build, and I've said this consistently. We have to bring players in. We have players playing excellently. Ulster should get more than their usual token one Ulster player that Andy Farrell remembers lives outside the M50 in the squad. Doak should be in. And I won't be here tomorrow, but Doak should be in that squad. I don't think he will be, but he should be. Harry Byrne will probably get in based on a wonderful performance on Saturday. I don't think Andy Farrell will make changes. I think it'll be our detriment come Six Nations again and detriment come to World Cup again. But look, I think we can all predict the Irish squad pretty much 1 to, is it 30, 32 at this point? We can predict it start to finish if we really wanted to, and we'd only be 2 or 3 players off.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've gone a little bit differently. This is what I posted online during the week. I had Michael Milne in there, so people were saying Paddy McCarthy could get in. I had Izuchuku, it looks like he'll miss out, but I still have a Hearn, just swap him McCarthy. I had Coombs in, I had Nathan Doak, Frawley, that's a coin toss. I think that's a three-way shout out. I had Dan Kelly in. I think Calvin Nash isn't making a lot of people's squad. I'd hit him in there. Ben, if you were to choose one back and one forward that you want to see in this Ireland squad, who would it be?
It would have been Cormac Izuchukwu, but look, that's clearly gone now. Tom Ahern should be in. His performances consistently have deserved him being in that squad. Nathan Doak should be the third choice nine. Zero.
Trust.
Zero to bet in my head. It should be Nathan Doak. I
I'm
don't
just
know
gonna
about
stick with
Kieran
Dan Kelly.
Frawley. I don't think his games. I don't think he'll pick Dan Kelly. I don't. The argument against Dan Kelly is probably hasn't done enough in Ireland to justify getting into the squad yet.
But
I don't agree with it, but that is the argument that will be made, that he hasn't done enough physically on the island of Ireland to get into the squad.
Wait,
that's a great point because we've seen plenty of players with less than 5 URC games getting into Ireland squads before. Now, when I say plenty, I don't mean loads. I mean like young players, young talents. Dan Kelly's won a Premiership. He's played Champions Cup rugby. He's played for England. He knows this game.
But he's never driven up to M7.
Well, I assume at this stage he has, to be fair, because I'm sure he's not always going south.
Also, 10.
Yeah,
Starting 10.
sure. I don't want to do the culture war stuff, otherwise
No,
I'll
I
be
know, and we're not going
Nigel
to, but
Farage in a pub
on
with the rest of
form,
you.
on form he should be.
He probably should be. Adam, I have to ask you as well. I know you'll be here tomorrow. You're not allowed to say Michael Vent is the one player.
he's never played. He never played in Ireland before he played for us.
Yeah, that's actually true. Actually, that is insane.
No one knew who he was, and he came on. I'm pretty sure I was at that game, and everyone was like, "Who?"
Ben, who was the young tight end? Oh, Peter Burlays. He was the young side tight end that we signed. He was going to be our Michael Vent. That didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Adam, two players that you would like to see in this Ireland squad.
Zach Ward, and
Fun.
I'd quite like to see. Ooh, a forward that I would like to see. I would like to see. I'm gonna say an Ulster man that always never gets his flowers. David McCann.
I don't disagree with that. You know, I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
talented back rowers, but I wouldn't be against David McCann getting in there because he's playing well. He's always looked all right for Ulster. Even on a bad day, he's always looked all right. I'm going to stick with Dan Kelly and Nathan Doak. They're my two guys. They're my ride or die. My ride or die has been Cormac Izuchukwu for the last while. Hasn't really gone well. I've also had like Alex Tindella should be in Ireland squads. Hasn't really gone well. Gavin Gooch should be in Ireland squads. Just take that as a word of advice. It's probably not going to happen for those two guys, but if it does, I'll be chuffed for them. But gentlemen, we'll leave it for tonight. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow with that recap. We'll try and keep it short and sweet, but it's us. We probably won't. Ben won't be here. He'll be replaced by David. All will be right in the world. Possibly, I don't know. Maybe Andy Farrell names 45 players with 10 caps between them. I don't know. Adam, you'll be back as well to discuss it all. If you like what you see here, make sure to smash those like, subscribe buttons. Make sure to tell us, give us your Ireland squad predictions. If you're getting here to this pod before 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, give us your predictions. Who would you like to see in there? Hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when our show drops tomorrow night as well. And if you have any questions or thoughts, you can get us on Twitter or that comment section, as I mentioned. But from me, from the lads, until next time, slán go fóill.